re le mo tshokologong ya letsatsi la mantaga mongwe le mongwe re buisana le re mo happy ke yo go le ka kwano fa re mo happy re go dumedise re go amogela ka kwano mo thulaganyong eno ya Youth Connect ke go siame le bokhutlho ja go ja beke e le jo bo siameng.
No, I had a nice weekend.
Yes,
thank you so much. Yeah, yes. And thank you for welcoming me once more. Thank you.
Nice one. Let me give you the opportunity to go to the Moretsi wa Kurere FM.
Dumelang baretsi botlhe ba Kurere FM. Thank you so much for tuning in once more, and I hope you are sitting and ready to take your notes so we can learn together. Thank you.
Yes, sir. An interesting topic today: the power of saying no.
The power of saying no. Yes. So it's actually quite interesting because, like I said, I interact a lot with the followers on social media. So what I've also decided to start doing is to say, I must dedicate a session, maybe once in a month or once in every 2 months.
Yes.
Dedicate a session where I address some of the issues that are popping out. So I had some issues that pop out from people complaining that I didn't deal with the values properly.
Okay.
So I'm gonna use the power of saying no as an example of if you were to have no as a value,
yes, sir,
how would it actually then pan out?
Mr. Mahapi, take it away, sir.
All right, thank you so much. So I just want to quickly just touch on some of the things I had said last week about the relationship between values and beliefs. And I said, you see, your beliefs are very important because your beliefs is what actually ultimately determines what your values will look like. Now, let me give a simple example and not necessarily use religion because I think maybe a lot of people got confused because of that.
Okay.
And I wanted to use religion because it was easier to then say, say for an example, you are a religious person in a sense that you love God, you love church, you are a Christian, for an example.
Yes.
And you would find that in the Christian principles, you are taught to be a kind person. The likelihood of you using kindness as a value is high.
True.
But you'll find a person who is maybe, there's another religion called Scientology.
Okay.
People that believe in science as, they religiously believe in science. You might find that to them, they might view kindness as a weakness. And to them, they might value intelligence.
Yes.
They might value knowledge. They might value wisdom. So to them, those might be values. To say, wisdom is such a value for me that I will make sure I read and I take the time to study as much as possible so that they can grow in that area. Now, you see, the values then are dictated by different things. But now, if you look at simple things that happen on a day-to-day basis, maybe you don't believe in treating people bad. As a person, just generally.
Yes.
Because you were raised like that. The chances are your values are going to include the fact that you don't want to mistreat people. Maybe part of how you were taught to grow up, you were taught to be a humble person. Don't look down on other people. The chances are your values will include that aspect of your belief because that's what you've been raised to believe. That's what you have developed up to this far. You have grown to this age to believe that is something important about being human. Then that obviously will dictate what your values will look like. This is one of the reasons then I said last week when I spoke about, I think, the 7 things that I believe are important in you knowing what is a value as opposed to something that's not a value. I said you need to make sure that a value is something that is very clear and achievable.
Okay.
It's very important. It is pointless to have a value if that value cannot be achieved. It's pointless. Now, a value needs to be achieved because it must be simple.
Yes, sir.
You can't come up with a value that's very difficult to achieve, that's very complicated. It needs to be simple because values are meant to bring us motivation, which is the second part. Your values are important to you because they are supposed to bring you motivation. They're supposed to encourage you. They're supposed to make you feel good about yourself. That's why you have values, because when you achieve those values and you constantly achieve those values, it makes you feel good about yourself. This is one of the reasons why you need to have values as a person. They are also a criteria of determining whether something is right or wrong to you. Which is why I was using the example that you will find that in some instances, a person has a background of growing up in a certain way. And certain things, according to the way they were raised, are wrong. Therefore, that will form part of their values. And this is what they determine as a guideline of whether something is right or wrong. Then you will also find that it determines how you spend time.
Wow.
And I will explain when I'm talking about the power of saying no, because how you say yes or no to certain things, and I'm gonna use saying no as a value.
Yes, sir.
So we'll make an example of no as a value,
Yeah.
and we'll say what is the power of saying no if you were to have no as a value. Now there's also saying yes as a value,
Yeah.
and what is the power of saying yes as a value. So both of them have advantages and disadvantages, like any other value. It has advantages, it has disadvantages. But now if you're going to choose something as a value, you also need to have an understanding of what disadvantages does it present, so that you can make sure that you build around that value to make sure that those disadvantages are not becoming a problem for you.
Yes, sir.
This is why it's important. Now the way they may be different in different contexts, and I've also said that, which is why I'm talking about advantages and disadvantages. You might find situations where some of the things you call values are values in some instances, but in some instances they might actually cause trouble.
Yo. Okay.
If you overinflate them. That's why I said the second one was to use a hierarchy. Use a hierarchy in your values. You might have 5 values.
Yes.
Put them in a hierarchy, those values, based on your current circumstances as a person. Then you are able to put them in a hierarchy to say, for me, where I stand, yes, you might want to, one of them was even saying on social media to say, because I was saying to them that if you don't spend enough time doing something, that is not a value to you.
Okay.
Because it might be a value simply because you call it a value, but you don't actually you've not allocated time, you've not allocated resources or any energy on that. It's not really a value.
True.
Now, another person was saying to me, no, but now I see it as a value. And I said, okay, if you see it as a value, that's good. But what it means then is you need to reprioritize.
True.
You need to reprioritize so that you can allocate more time to that thing that you want to be a value. Because there is what you don't necessarily realize that it's a value, but you're spending a lot of time in it, but it is actually your value. There are those things that you actually really want them to be values that require you to readjust how you allocate time and how you schedule time, so that you are able to then allocate enough energy and time in those things to make them high values. So when you have that hierarchy, then you are able to say, in my hierarchy, I've got 3 things that I'm doing and I'm spending most of my time doing. But there are 2 things that I value more than the other 3, but I'm spending less time doing it. Because it's quite common that you value certain things, but you spend less time in them. Now, it does not mean it doesn't have to be a value. It can be a value, provided you intentionally allocate enough time to actually make it a value.
Yes, sir.
And that's what is important for value. So yes, there are times where when you do your list, you will find that there are things in that list based on how you're using your time that might come across as values, but you didn't really want them to be values. It just naturally grew to be values because of the time allocated. But then there are those that you really, really want them to be values because you want your life to go in that direction. And because you want your life to go in that direction, what you then do in that case is you then focus on building time, scheduling time to do those things regularly, so that they can become high value. So that in your hierarchy, when you have your pyramid there, you are able to then allocate them much higher up because you are spending more time in those things. Now, I want to then touch on, let's use as an example now of saying no as a value. So if to you saying no is a value, someone might choose that they want to use no as a value because they have realized that their inability to say no has caused a lot of trouble in their lives.
Yeah.
Because they say yes to everything. You know, there is a movie, I don't know, some people remember it. It's called The Yes Man by Jim Carrey.
Oh, yes.
If you've watched that movie, you will realize he encounters this a motivational speaker that teaches them to say yes. And they teach them to say yes in everything. But because he misunderstood what that particular motivator was trying to get across, he went out of that session saying yes to every single thing.
Yeah.
When a beggar is on the street, you want something, you give.
Yes.
When someone says, let's go rob a bank, you go. Because and it's quite interesting that he literally said yes to everything, whether it was wrong or right, even if it's things that violated his own values. But because he wanted to say yes, this is one of the reasons why I say it has to be a value. It has to be a value because a series. Let me explain something.
Yes, sir.
When, as an individual, you cannot have values that are contradictory to each other. All your values have to be in agreement. They should be aligned to each other. Because if you've got values that are contradictory, then you will live a life of confusion. For an example, you want to be an honest person, but another one of your values is to lie. You see what will happen? Now you are going to have contradiction. Now those things become a problem. So if your value is to be honest, that means everything that you build around that value can be contradictory to what you want as a value. Now you need to make sure, say I have 5 different values. Those 5 different values, one must attach to another, and they must complement each other for your value system to work. So your value system may be made up of 10 values. Your values, which I normally I actually discourage for you to have too many values. Because then it becomes too many things to. So for an example, if you've got 20 things that you value in your life, do it in phases. Have phase A, where you are looking at the first 5 values, and you will end up at phase 4, but grow. You master the first 5 and you do it so well. Now, when you master it and you are now doing well and you have grown, you now take on the next 5. You don't have to be limited to only 5 or 10. They can grow. Your values can grow, because even with time, as you grow into different avenues of your career, different avenues of your life, you will realize it requires you to take on certain values for you to do good in those areas. Now, you take on those and you grow like that. So they can increase with time.
Wow.
But even if it's a lot of them, you do not tackle all of them at the same time. You need to bite enough for you to be able to chew.
Awesome.
Don't bite more than you can chew, because that's what discourages a lot of people, and they end up thinking, I'm incapable of doing these things. And you will find a person saying, nah, I'm not that kind of person. I don't have tolerance. And they are proud of it. And they don't realize that their lack of tolerance might be a reason behind why certain things don't happen the way they do in their lives. So most of the time, we end up accepting things we should not accept because we feel that our values are too much. I have a lot of things that I want to see going right in my life, that is too much of them, and I get discouraged. Break them up, do them in small trenches, and begin to make progress in your life.
Important.
Now, why must we have, now, let's say, for an example, we're talking about the power of saying no. What is the power of saying no? What does it mean to say no? What it means to say no is that you are saying, I have a set of values that do not allow me to agree to certain things. And therefore, I will learn to stand my ground when it comes to saying no, where those things are concerned. And I'm going to touch on the different categories as we go on. Which categories must you focus on to making sure that you say no in those specific areas? Now, your inability to say no is your ability to say yes to things you don't want to say no to.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you must remember, every time when you say yes with your mouth, when you say no with your mouth, you are saying yes to something else. And when you say yes to something else, you are saying no to another. So you need to always keep that in mind, that when I say yes to something, I have just said no. If I say yes to you, Respire, I have just said no to myself. And if I say no to you, I have said yes to myself.
Okay.
Now, there are times where what you want is the same thing that I also share, that I want. And if I say yes to you, I am saying yes to me.
Intertwined.
And there are times where you want something and I'm saying no to you. Now, you will find that there are times where I want to say yes, but I choose to say no for the sake of the values.
Wow.
Now you look at this. Let's say, for an example, what are the things that you need to say no to as a person?
Thank you, sir.
And that's the first thing that you need to begin to focus on, to say, okay, I understand I must learn to say no. But what are the things that I need to say no to? This is a very easy exercise, because what it requires you to do, it requires you to look back into things in the past that you said yes to and regretted it later on. And you will then begin to categorize those things to say, when it comes to, you'll find, for an example, a person where money is concerned, you always don't have money. And when you look back, why do you not always have money? It's because you are always saying yes to people wanting money from you. And you only do 40% for yourself. The rest is you are doing for others. I am not saying it is wrong to do for others. But I am saying, if doing for others affects you in the end, then there is a problem.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if that makes any sense. Now, you need to carry the level of responsibility that allows you to then say, if I'm going to say yes to something, I must say yes to something because it's within my limits of comfortability.
Nice.
If I say no about something, it's within the same constraints. Now, you need to then realize, for an example, where your time is concerned, you need to learn to say no.
Important.
Because there are times where people will ambush you. They will come to your house unannounced.
Yeah.
And they visit. And when you live in Kasi, it's even worse. Because if you live in the township, most of the time, the houses are not like in the suburban area where you build high walls and electric gates.
Yeah.
You know, where people have to call before they come. In Kasi, they can scream at the end, at the gate and expect you to open the gate. Now, that's how it works. In town, some of those things don't work. Now, a person ambushes you like that. You need to have the strength to be able to tell that person, look, you arrived at the very bad time. You should have announced before you got here. I've got a series of things that are very important that I need to do. And that person must understand and turn around and walk away.
Wow.
Now, you see, you've just said no. Where your time is concerned.
Yes,
You've just said no where your time is concerned. Another example, saying no where your money is concerned.
Yes, sir.
There are times where a person will come to you and say, help me with 50,000 rands or help me with 10,000 rands. And you say, no, I can't help you with 10,000 rands. I can only help you with $1,000.
Yeah.
That's what you are able to do comfortably without making yourself uncomfortable. So you are saying no in that space simply because you don't want to end up being uncomfortable because of that situation. The power of saying no. Now, also, you can say no where your overall wellness is concerned. For an example, where your mental health is concerned. There are people in your life that you know when you spend time with them mentally. Hey, you get so drained that you must go back and find some form. You will end up getting into my TikTok and motivating yourself because this person has drained you. Now, is it really worth it for you spending that much time with that person? Yes, maybe you might spend time with them, but you will regulate how much time you spend with them. But sometimes you might need to say no. The power of saying no is when you then learn that there are certain things that require you to prioritize yourself and ignore other people and focus on yourself, because that time it requires you to prioritize what is important to you.
It's not being selfish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a difference between being selfish and knowing your priorities. Being selfish is going out of your way to make sure that you win all the time. And it's all about you. But having priorities is being able to say, there are things that matter to me. There are times where I will push my agenda more. There are times where I will balance it. But a selfish person is consistent. It's their agenda all the way, right across. Now, saying no where your health is concerned. I mean, I always tell people, I said, it doesn't mean if I come to your house and I sit there, I will eat whatever you present to me as food.
Cannot be.
It can be. You know, and I was using an example at church and I was saying, you know, it's a very serious situation, because imagine as Muruti, you visit 5 different houses in one day, and each of them, they know you are coming and they cook 7 colors for you. How are you going to end up at the end of the day if you don't learn how to say no?
I hear you say.
You see, so with me, I do it up front. I tell the church up front, I say, if I come to your house, please bear with me. There are things I eat and things I don't eat. I need you to understand me up front. That even if you bring a plate and I eat half of that plate, be at peace. Because this is who I am.
Noted. Yes, sir.
I value my health. I value who I am as a person. And that you need to understand. Now, you realize, and some would even go as far as, don't cook for me at all. I'll leave my house, I will eat before I leave. So that I don't go hungry along the way. You can just serve me water. Why? Because that person is prioritizing what? Their physical health. Now, some people need to begin to prioritize and learn to say no where their energy is concerned. You don't go around helping every single person you come across. Some situations don't need your help.
Yes, sir.
Because when you are helping, you are perpetuating the problem.
Okay.
There are some cases where when you are helping, you need to have the wisdom to tell the difference. Because when you are helping, you are making the problem worse.
Okay.
You are making the problem worse.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes you need more reason to actually get that thing done. You'll find that maybe a person requires you to do something and they give you reasons, but their reasons are not as, they don't have weight. And you would have to wait for them to give you reasons that have enough weight for you to be able actually act. And it doesn't necessarily mean that when you are in that situation, you have to always help, always do this, always do that. You need to learn to say no.
Whew. Wow.
You need to learn to say no, because when you are saying no, you are saying yes to yourself where other things are concerned. Now, let's say, what is stopping people from saying no? What stops people from saying no? Many a times is beliefs. People are afraid to say no because they think they will look bad.
Yo, true.
People are afraid to say no because they think they will lose friendships. People are afraid to say no because, look, if the people that you are close to don't understand how frank and how honest you can be, then we have a problem. Because that means clearly you are keeping the wrong company. If the people you are around cannot take a no for an answer, those type of people are toxic for you. If you saying yes to them, it means you love them, you accept them, and you care for them. Then it's a problem. They also need to understand and accept the fact that you saying no, it's part of you loving them.
Nice. Oh.
Because there are times where they will come and ask you for things that are damaging to them. Must you say yes? No, you will say no. How many of us grew up with strict parents? That some of them used to say no to stuff. Some of them used to beat you for doing the wrong stuff. And you, at that time, you would even feel, this man is beating or this woman is beating me so much, I don't even think this person is my parent. And you grew up and realized that they gave you so much training through that kind of treatment. And you begin to value. But they were saying no. But their no made you the person that you are today.
Love it.
So some of us can build the people we have around us. Whether they look up to us, whether they are our peers, we can build them to say no. Now, let me help those who are in careers, who are in the workforce. You can say no to your boss.
Yeah, no.
You can say no to your boss.
Okay.
But let me give you an example.
Yes, sir.
Let me give you an example. Because I want to also allude to telling you what are the things you need to, that will help you say no.
Okay.
I want to touch on those things. Now, when your boss says, maybe you are busy with a project.
Yes, sir.
And you are busy, and it's a difficult project because it requires your time. And maybe your boss is not aware of how much strain that project is bringing to you. And your boss says to you, look, I want you to also do 1, 2, 3, and gives you another list of additional things. This is how you say no to your boss.
Sir.
And the bosses will forgive me.
Okay.
I'm training your people well so they can deliver for you.
Yes.
So you can then say to your boss, this is the task that you have given me that I've been busy with this week. This is how far I have gone where that is concerned. Maybe I've done 60% of it. I still have 40% to do. Then you give your boss the option to say, should I drop what I'm doing and focus on the new stuff you are giving me? Or what is it that you would prefer me to do? Or should I continue with what I'm doing? Because, and then the chances are your boss will then say, how long will it still take you to finish? And you can tell them, it will take me another week. And after a week, I can attend to this. Do you realize you've just said no in a very smart way?
Polite way. Okay.
You've just said no in a polite way, and you've afforded your boss to decide what is critical for him or her.
Yes.
They are able to then decide to say, what I'm giving you now far outweighs what you've been busy with. Stop it for now, finish this, and you can go back to that one.
Okay.
So now let me go to the next one. Yeah. Why do people, what is stopping people from saying no? What's stopping people from saying no is the fulfillment that comes when they have helped people. Some people are so addicted to feeling good when they help people that they go out of their way to do every single thing that people ask, because their adrenaline, the hormones that are released in their body when they do something right and they see you smile or they hear a thank you. You know, there are people who are addicted to a thank you. If they don't hear a thank you, it's like their brain is short-circuited. It doesn't work proper. Now, that creates a problem. So those are the things that are stopping people. Now, let's close. As we are closing, what can saying no help me to do?
Okay.
What can it do? If you say no, what will it help you to do? It will help you to prioritize.
Nice. Whew.
It will help you to, and I've used this example now of an employee that's speaking to the boss. To say, I can say no, I don't have to take, which is the second one. It reduces stress. Saying no reduces stress. Because imagine taking more work from your boss. More work, and you don't know how to manage. And this person, because you keep saying yes, they think, man, you are just nailing these things, you are comfortable. And they just keep pumping more and more until you are completely swamped. And you find people in their careers are unhappy, people in their jobs, they are unhappy because they are being overloaded.
Wow.
Because they don't know how to prioritize. Use no to prioritize.
True.
Use no to prioritize. Maybe you've got a huge project in school. You need to do a submission. Maybe you are studying and you need to do a submission. You can't get that submission done because your friends on the weekend are asking for your time. Instead of you saying, no, you can't, you say, let me just spend an hour with them. I'll come back. When you come back, you have spent 6 hours. You've lost time. You fail an exam. Saying no will help you save time.
Wow.
Saying no will reduce your workload. Saying no will reduce your stress. This becomes very important for us to realize. Learn to say no. It will create simplicity in your life. It will make things more easier. It will reduce complication. You will not have to deal. There are things you have no business getting involved in them. You must just say no and stay away. Whether it's an issue that people are raising or it's a gossip they are saying about another person, you can just say no and unplug and walk away. You do not need that kind of baggage in your life. That's all I wanted to share with you today about the power of saying no. So I've used this as an example of how to say no as a value. To say, this is how values work. And that's how values can actually help you improve your life and invest better in yourself. Thank you so much. You'll find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, we are life_in_perspective 2019. Life_in_perspective 2019. And then on Facebook, Life in Perspective. Thank you so much.